Hello YouTube, it's me, Brittany, and today we're going to talk about my experience transitioning as a transgender parent. Now this is actually an update video. I did this video almost a year ago, and it has the most views of all of my videos on my entire channel. So I'm like, maybe you guys really want to hear what's going on with me being a transgender parent and how it kind of works, and maybe a little bit of advice. So I'm going to work on doing a few more videos like this, but I'm actually just going to update you guys from last year's video, and I will be putting last year's video in the comments below. So if you did see last year's video, please go check it out. Now, before I do all that, let's do through all my other things. If you haven't subscribed already, please don't forget to hit subscribe. And thanks all of you guys who have already been watching. I love you guys so much. So from last year, we have almost 600 plus more subscribers from when I did the last video. So if you go back and watch it, you're gonna notice two things. We got way more subscribers. I got way better lighting. Oh, three things. Oh, and I've lost a lot of motherfucking weight. Anyways, so basically, in the first video, I kind of talked about, my experience of transitioning. I did come out to my son. He was the very first person I came out to when he was 8 years old. And it was, he's 14, so that's 6 years ago now. Oh, I'm old. It went over really well because my son was very accepting of me. He did have questions, and we worked our way through all those things like that. I learned that, the best thing to do was to be honest, because it's healthier for me to be honest with myself and with him, because, it makes the transition much more easier. And don't try to lie, and give them the honest answers. If they ask the questions like, why do you wear girls' clothes, or why do you dress differently than the other boys, or whatever. Give them the honest answer. Don't lie to them. That's kind of a review of what went through the first video, and how, when I did come out, I lost custody of him. Not fully, it was kind of forcibly, but it was also voluntarily. I needed my own space to really kind of learn and grow in my own self. But I also, because I was transitioning, there were people outside who were like, you can't be a parent if you're transgender, that's not going to work, which is completely wrong, by the way. So don't believe that. If anybody tells you that that's not true, you can totally still be a parent, because your responsibility is not to be a father or a mother. Your responsibility is to be a parent. Always remember that. And that was one of the things I kind of had to learn from myself. And so I did voluntarily give him to his other mother, and he's been living with her pretty much since then, probably for the last 5 years. And we communicate and talk, and a lot of what this video is going to be about is really, I want to update how I stay involved in my son's life. He's 14, about to turn 15 at this point, and I know some of you guys who did watch that other video wanted to see what his feelings and his reactions were, and I did try to get him to make that video with me, but I'm not gonna force him to do something he just doesn't feel comfortable doing yet. So until then, we're just gonna keep having discussions on my experiences of what I do and how I try to stay involved, or how I just deal with being a transgender parent and how different it is in being a regular parent. It's being a parent is challenging in its own right, but then you add in this whole separate aspect where you have to try to reintroduce your child into the real person that you've been. You have to try to say, I'm still your loving parent, but I'm not the person that you've known for all these years. Hopefully with mine was 8 at the time, so it wasn't too difficult. But speaking to him about it now, in our vacation last week, trying to get him to do a video, he actually did kind of open up and say that it was very difficult for him to kind of change over to that. At the time he wasn't gonna tell me because he thought it would make me feel bad, and he was probably right. But I've grown much stronger since then, and so like I can really listen and hear those things from him, and I'm happy that he can be honest and say, I was kind of frustrating. It was really, I was there for the first year, he said, and I watched you become happier, but then I watched you also get sadder and sadder, and fight because everything around you was such a struggle. And that's what was hard for him, was seeing me struggle with just trying to become who I was, and it kind of took the real person that I was away from him, even though I was transitioning. And so that's kind of how he described it. So eventually he will hopefully do a video his own self with me, and you can hear it in his own words, because it was really interesting to hear how he really wanted to just say, like, it was difficult for me at first, but now I've grown. He's grown to just, it's just normal for him now. Like, he doesn't think anything of it. He has a father who's a woman and a mother who loves him, and they both love him. So and that's one of the things that's kind of been really great about communicating, is that, like, over the last year and a half since the last video I did, and since he's become a teenager, one of the things that I've been worried about with is, like, his mother doesn't pick up the phone and call me and give it to him anymore. He's got his own phone. So now it's been like, how do I get him to talk to me? How do I get steak? Is like, we live apart, but what do I do? So here's a few things that I have done to try to keep that communication and keep that strong relationship. I'm still his father, and so, like, I feel like there's this responsibility in me to teach him and prepare him for the life ahead. I may never be the ideal father figure, but I need to be the best parent I can be. And since his mother is doing the mother things, I have to step in and do the father things. That's kind of my responsibility. So, some of the things that I've done is, I started a bank account for him. And that was an interesting move because his mom didn't like it. My mother actually didn't like it. Nobody really liked it except for me, because it gave me a connection to him. So I linked a bank account with my bank account, and I gave him a bi-weekly allowance. So now, if he doesn't call me within 2 weeks, I can say, hey, would you like your allowance? And now he contacts me. Now, he may only contact me and talk to me for 2 to 5 minutes, but we've spoken now, and we've gotten a little bit of communication, and it's gotten better over time. Now that he realizes, that's kind of why I set up the bank account, was so that he would start talking to me, and so we communicate. And he's also learned how to be a responsible person with his money. He's learned how to save money. At one point, he saved up to $125 because he wanted to buy something specific for his skateboard or whatever. I don't know, but for me as a parent, I look at that and go, I'm teaching him. I'm still, even though I'm apart as a transgender parent, because of the things that happen as a transgender parent, sometimes we lose the closeness of our being, living close to our children, but we can't, it doesn't mean we can't lose that being close to our children. And so, even though we're miles and miles apart, because I opened this bank account, we communicate quite a bit. And I've also learned and taught him how to handle money, how to write a check, how to balance his account, all of those things like that. And I know that we're at an age where people are like, who balances a checkbook? Like, but these are things I still think are important for my son to learn, so I wanted him to learn that. And the next thing that I do, is I communicate not just with him. I have a very, I don't want to say it's a great relationship with his mother, but I have a good working relationship with his mother, in that we understand each other. We still get into arguments and we still have disagreements, but I think that's just being parents in general, that happens. So I don't really let that bother us. I generally step back from an argument, and then I might come back a day or two, or maybe a week or two later, and be like, hey, I'm sorry, or let's get through whatever we need to figure out, and make these decisions, because it's better for our child. So communicate with your child's other parent. Definitely don't break that communication. And if it's toxic, definitely do what you need to do. If it's toxic, avoid it for sure. But if you can get into a relationship that's good with the other parent, like I have, and you don't live there, but they live with the parent, the child, then that relationship also is what helps you keep your relationship with your child. Because if you have a good relationship with the parent, then they're not going to be on the other side of you saying, don't talk to your transgender parent, don't talk to your father, don't talk to your mother anymore, whatever. So that's one of the things that I have worked really hard at, is really kind of keeping that bridge solid and intact, and making sure that I stay friends with her. Not just because it's for my child, but because, for one, we have to do this together. It's just the way it works. The next thing, which actually is going to get better, is spending time. Now, this year was really hard, and we did have my vacation last week, or a couple weeks ago, whatever, and you can watch the videos where you do get to see my son and introduce him in those videos. But luckily in the future, because he doesn't want to do virtual school in California anymore, he's actually going to move to Missouri and live with my parents, which means I will see him for Christmas, I will see him in March, I will see him a little bit more often next year. So he's hopefully going to get into a few more videos. But make the most of the time that you're spending, especially if you're separated parent from your child and you're transitioning. Every time they see you, you're gonna look a little bit different from the last time they seen you, especially if it's, the long time. So my last time I was seeing, me and my son were in the same room was over a year and a half ago before this vacation. So like a lot has definitely changed for me and for him. For him, for him, like he's crazy tall. So like just make the most of that time that you have. Do things that they enjoy. For me, I've spent this most of this vacation skateboarding around. I'm 37 years old. I don't need to be skateboarding around anywhere, but that's what my son does. So I wanted to make sure he had fun, and we both had a good time. I'm not out of shape because I worked my butt off for it this year. But you just have to make the most. So find things that they enjoy doing and that you can enjoy doing, and you guys can do those things together, because that relationship is what's always going to be important. So you can think, oh, right now in the first 5 years, while they're a child, when they're before they're 18, they may have this turmoil, toxic relationship sometimes, and it might be loving and it might be that, hey, you stay away from me type things. But in the end, they're going to grow older. And I hated my parents when I was a teenager, and I love my mother and father now more than anything. So that's going to come around hopefully for you, but only if you remain this steadfast, I love you, I'm just trying to be the best parent I can be. I've given up on trying to tell my son I don't like the things he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to discern him in any way. I just want him to know that I love him and I support him. Anyways, I've rambled and rambled and rambled, and this video's gone on for like 12, 13 minutes, and I love every single one of you guys. I hope this is helpful for you guys. If you have any questions about my experience transitioning, please ask those questions in the comments of me. And don't forget, you can ask my son questions. I'm gonna try to get him to do a video, but definitely ask me, because I'm gonna try to make some more videos of these for you guys now that I have a lot more followers. Yeah, I love you guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. You can follow me on Facebook and Insta at Brittany Rose, on Twitter at Brittany Rose 2. I've got some comedy shows coming up. I'm going to tell you all about them in the next video. I love you guys. Bye-bye.